Mancini.
The March for Life is equality begins in the womb. The word equality is something that we're hearing a lot these days, but it's rarely defined. So we're talking about it around the dinner table. We're hearing about it in the halls of Congress. Whether it's about racial injustice or whether it's COVID-19, we're hearing a lot about equality. And these are topics that need to be discussed. And the truth is that we are all equal in dignity, regardless of skin color, disability status, socioeconomic background, or stage of life, including the earliest stages in life.
Attorney Kristen Wagoner of Alliance Defending Freedom also spoke at the event.
Equality begins in the womb with an understanding that life is God's gift to each of us.
Actor Kurt Cameron was also at this year's March for Life.
The Bible, the book that built America, says that those who hate God love death. But we're the family of faith. We love God, therefore we love life.
More on this year's March for Life on AFN.net. The U.S. and Russia sought to lower the temperature in a heated standoff over Ukraine, even as they reported no breakthroughs in high-stakes talks on Friday aimed at preventing a feared Russian invasion. Armed with seemingly intractable and diametrically opposed demands, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and his Russian counterpart met in Geneva for roughly 90 minutes at what the American said was a critical moment, but there was no apparent movement on either side. Blinken said the U.S. and its allies remain resolute in rejecting Russia's most important demands, which were laid out in writing in proposals last month and reiterated on Friday. Relations between the U.S. and Israel could be better. That's according to this story from Chad Groening.
During the 4 years of the Trump presidency, many in the pro-Israel community believed that Trump was the most pro-Israel president in history. But in just 1 year, many of those same observers believe things have gone in the exact opposite direction under Joe Biden. David Rubin is the former mayor of the Israeli city of Shiloh and author of the book Confronting Radicals, What America Can Learn from Israel.
Clearly, it has been a difficult year for that relationship. And there's no question that Biden has turned his back on a lot of the agreements with Israel. No question. There are a lot of things that Biden has tried to do that have simply been based on reversing what Trump did, closing down the Palestinian Authority's consulate for them in Jerusalem, in the heart of Israel's capital. So Trump rightly closed it down because it was just a nest egg for terrorism.
But Rubin says Biden wants to rebuild it.
That's just one example of a lot of policies of Trump that were great for Israel that Biden has been trying to undo. He's been given support in the millions for the Palestinian Terrorist Authority and its leader, Mahmoud Jihad Abbas. So he's been doing this, and it has not been good for the Israel-United States relationship, I'm sorry to say.
I'm Chad Groening.
In other news this hour, a federal judge has halted President Biden's vaccine mandate for federal employees, adding to the growing number of judges or courts saying no to President Biden's mandates. Los Angeles is considering phasing out oil and gas drilling. Residents began lobbying local, state, and federal politicians to more closely regulate drilling after years of what they called negative health impacts they blamed on air pollution from the sites. Finally, the NCAA has ratified a new constitution, paving way to restructuring. Find more news on AFN.net. Be sure to subscribe to our free daily email news briefs. Thanks for listening.
Too busy to catch your favorite shows on the radio? Have no fear, because the AFR app is here. Download the app to have access to live broadcast, music streaming, as well as each podcast. Whether you're at work, at home, or on the go, it's easy to listen to AFR.
The AFR app is available not only for Apple and Android users, but also on Amazon Alexa and Roku.
Download the AFR app today at afr.net.
You know, as Christians, we have to understand and be real with where we are.
That's what we have to see first, individually.
And where our mindset is and what we desire.
Airing the Addisons. I think what God is really calling us back to, it's those individual personal revivals in our own lives where we're like, oh Lord, what have we done? We have minimized you.
Promoting truth, wisdom, and empowerment.
As the church, man, we should be on the forefront of making disciples, of indoctrination in godly things.
If we don't train our kids, they will not be able to stand.
Aaron Addisons.
On American Family Radio, thank you so much for listening. Welcome to your Friday. It's great to be a part of your Friday. Thank you for inviting us in. We made it. We made it. Man, listen. We made it. We made it. I feel like it wasn't a super long week, but I feel like what happened in the week made it feel a little bit different.
Yeah.
And then, you know, sort of like my little mental distress here this last week.
Well, praise God.
Praise the Lord. We'll decide if we should talk about it because, you know, in fact,
that's a Friday story.
It's a Friday story. And I kind of feel like I have these experiences because of what I do. I kind of almost feel like the Lord's like, well, here you go. You want
well, here you go.
Because people will be able to appreciate this. So here you go. You can use this,
okay.
right?
Material.
Here's your material.
Okay, got you.
I'm just helping you out with some show prep here.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. We'll see. I won't force it. If it doesn't become a natural part of the show, I won't force it. I will say this though. I'm grateful. So even as I will joke about what happened to me a week ago that seemed to last for a week, I will say that I'm grateful and it wasn't funny at the time.
Right. Not at all. Not at all.
Oh my goodness, wasn't funny at the time. Okay, so let's just welcome to your Friday. I'm Miki.
And I'm Will.
And we're married.
Yes.
And Sherry B and J Mac are on tap to help us navigate the show. It's the Friday show. We do a little bit of a lighter show on Friday. And boy, I am so looking forward to a lighter show today. You know, unless, of course, because we do open the phone lines. So unless you call in and you want to kind of change the tone of the show, man, then we'll go
happens.
With you. It happens. It happens. But that's why we call it gumbo.
Yeah.
It does. And that's okay because it's Friday. So we can talk about whatever we would like. You know what I mean? That, you know, is productive to talk about. Okay. We'll just say that. And so it's up to you. You can decide that if you want and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah.
I do want to bring something into the discussion here before we get the phone lines open because we do open the phone lines pretty early on a Friday. So before we do that, though, I do want to bring something up into the discussion or enter something into this, whatever. I want to talk about.
I got something to say.
I got something to say. Can I say something funny about that? So in my conversations with your children, I often am kind of doubled over laughing because they don't realize how funny they are. They're just expressing, well, maybe sometimes they do realize it because they're trying to make us laugh. But I was talking to the girls. Oh, man, this was a few weeks ago. I don't even remember what it was about. But as I was talking to them, Mariah wanted to interject. And you know how you get caught up in the moment and you're just talking? Mm-hmm. You don't know this, but sometimes I can be talking and it's hard to get in. Right. It doesn't happen to you often.
Well, I understand the hard to get in. Yeah. You know.
Anyway, so I was on my talking with Mariah and Gabby. I was just kind of, you know, like I do. And Mariah, kind of like in Will the Great fashion, was wanting to add something. And she said, it was so funny because do you know when a person is saying something to you and you don't immediately realize that they're saying something, but then after you hear them increase in volume, you realize suddenly, oh, wait a minute, I did hear that. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been in that position where like one of the kids is calling daddy, but you somehow were kind of like distant. And then all of a sudden when they increase, you're like, oh man, I did hear dad. Like I did hear dad being called. Yeah. So this was the situation we were in. And Mariah says, and she had been saying it for a minute. I just didn't recognize it. I was kind of caught up in the moment, laughing, going back and forth with her and Gabby. And she said, and might I add, that's what she said. And then looking back on it now, I know. And she said again, and might I add, but again, I'm still going. And so finally she goes, I would like to add. I go, oh man. I said I would like to add. And so anyways, maybe you might employ that in the show, Will the Great. Like maybe you might just, because sometimes I get going. And maybe you just might need to step in with the I would like to add.
Look, I understand. I know I can feel out when I need to add something, you know?
Yes,
but when you're going,
that's right.
And God is speaking through you and the Lord is, look, man, you do better just, you know.
Oh, man.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Yeah, that's encouraging. But, you know, there are those times when, and might I add, just won't suffice, and you got to add. So anyways, so I was today, here's what I want to bring this into the discussion. This is something that hopefully will be enriching to our listeners, and you'll find this kind of a little bit fun, like we found it a little bit fun. We have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and this week our 5 and 7-year-olds are learning about patriotism. So they are learning what it is to be patriotic. They are learning about how we pledge allegiance and how we salute the flag and all of these things. They're learning some patriotic songs and learning, you know, just the colors of the flag and all of these things that they know just by being around, but it's a part of their curriculum today or this week. And so today I learned something interesting about a song that they have to learn. It is a song that if I start to sing it for you, you all know the song. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to sing it for you. I think, Will the Great, you have a clip of the song, right? So you can play the song, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about how you're just never too old to learn. Okay, here we go. Here's the song.
Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy.
Look at you guys. You don't want me to turn it off. You're loving it. I know. You're like, wait.
Look, I want to ask you, though. What did you think this song was about, like, growing up? Like, what did you think this song was about? Because I have something in mind.
You had some thoughts?
Well, maybe when I got a little older, but, you know, I had some thoughts about what I thought this song was about.
So this is great, because I never thought about the deeper meaning of Yankee Doodle. Ever. Okay. Ever. Like, I knew the song. So when the kids had to learn this, when Nathaniel and Sam Witt had to learn this song, first of all, learn it as a poem, right? Mm-hmm. I could not read it as a poem without hearing it. Like so first I had to teach it to them as a poem. Mm. Yankee Doodle went to town, riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni.
Which is
Yankee
weird.
Doodle, keep it up. Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. So I'm trying to teach it to them as a poem, but I keep wanting to sing it, right? Mm-hmm. The problem was, every time I go through the song or the poem, Sam Witt says, what does this mean? Mm-hmm. And so I go, you're American. It means you're American or something. I don't know. And I go, just, it's a song. It's a song.
Yeah.
So day 2, Yankee Doodle went to town, riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. Yankee Doodle, keep it up. Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. And then Sam Witt goes,
I had an easier song that I had to do with them.
To memorize, right. Yeah, of course, because mom, right? So Sam Witt goes, and then now he's pretty persistent. He says, what does that mean? What does that mean? And it's the second verse in particular. Yankee Doodle, keep it up. Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. He says, what does that mean? And I go, well, it seems to mean that there is the encouragement to Yankee Doodle to be careful in his dancing with the girls. Maybe don't let him fall. Like, be handy, be helpful. Like, pay attention to how you're dancing. And he goes, I don't know. And then, and as you know, Dad, what do you think? Which is always so affirming to me, right?
And I said pretty much it was similar to what you said.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. And then I said, do you feel better? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, it's not that I don't believe you. He just was not convinced. And so I said, do we need to look up the history of Yankee Doodle? And he said, yeah, we need to know. And I thought, you know what? I do need to know, because I don't know what I am singing. I don't know the origin of the song. So before I go into it, you want to say what you thought it was?
I thought, see, I knew it had, well, in my mind, it had something to do with war and fighting and stuff like that. I thought it was like a song that was around, but I thought it had to do with the Civil War.
Did you? Because of Yankee?
Yeah, because I thought it was a shot at the North or something. But I was wrong. Like,
interesting,
it had nothing,
yeah.
because of the term, Yankee.
Yankee.
So I always
Very
thought that it has to
interesting.
do with the Civil War, but no.
Okay, so here is what we learned. So, and by the way, just want to say for the record, I was today years old when I learned what Yankee Doodle was all about.
Me too.
Okay, today years old. And so I gave Sam Witt a high five, because I was like, hey, buddy, thank you so much for loving to learn. Like, I was so glad that, and now looking back on it, in the moment, I'm just kind of like, oh, buddy, everybody everywhere just memorizes the song. Just sing it, which is such a downgrade, right? Because you really want your kids to be curious about what they're learning. You don't want them to just repeat, right? You want them to actually listen to what they're hearing, right? And pay attention to it, and then ask questions, which is what he did, which led to an opportunity for all of us to learn, So I did a little bit of research, and I went to a couple websites. And this information, and I found the same information on both websites, sometimes a little bit different, because, it's like you have, history records or legend has or whatever, that kind of thing. And so, but I found some overlaps that I will report to you that I found to be consistent from both of these sites. And there were others that I could have, but because he's 5, I'm not going to go to 10 websites. So just enough to help him along. Songfacts.com, which also had in it, an interview with a man with NPR talking about the history of Yankee Doodle, which I thought was really interesting. So the origin of Yankee Doodle dates back to the French and Indian War, fought from 1754 to 1763 between British troops in America and French forces that controlled what is now Canada. The Yankees were the American colonists, the trained British forces viewed as sloppy and ill-equipped as soldiers. So here's what's interesting to me about this. This song was originally sung as a derogatory song toward the American forces, the American soldiers. Okay, let me continue. At the start of the Revolutionary War in 1775, when American colonists fought for independence from Britain, the song was sung by the British troops because Yankee Doodle was a derogatory term for an American. Just period. Doesn't matter what part of the country you're from or what part of the colonies you're from at the time, as it were. According to the United States Library of Congress, when the Americans started winning the war, they appropriated the song and sang it proudly.
They're like, oh, yeah? We got a remix for y'all.
Which just sounds like an American.
Take this
L. It's like, it sounds, as I was reading this, I thought, this sounds like such an American thing to do. It's like, oh, you think it's bad to be an American? Well, but we're winning. So what do you think now? So anyways, it has since become a patriotic song for America. I'm probably going to have to continue this on the other side of the break.
This Friday.
This is a popular children's song, partly because of the goofy lyric, stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni. Now listen, I'm going to wait until the other side of the break to explain to you that line. I guarantee you, unless you're just a historian, unless you're like David Barton listening, which by the way, hey, David, probably not. Unless you're David Barton listening, you do not know what that means. Or do you know what that means? Stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni. Nope. It has nothing to do with craft. It has nothing to do with your Friday night dinner next to fried chicken. We're going to grab the break and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. Aaron the Addisons, the Friday edition. Stay right there.
This is Don Shank with today's global update from the Tide Ministry, sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ worldwide in the languages people were born to speak. If someone had told Reverend Byers that his vision for global missions would not only survive 75 years, but also share the gospel in multiple languages and countries on 3 different continents, he might not have believed it. We praise God for the longevity of the Tide Ministry, and we're grateful that we get to be part of God's mission to save His lost children. Looking ahead to the future, we've unrolled our Diamond Vision Plan, which highlights 5 key features for potential growth. Many listeners request Bibles and Christian literature so they can learn more about Jesus. The third Diamond Vision facet is Solidify, which defines how we will develop and supply more resources to help new believers to grow in their faith and live in right relationship with God. To learn more about the Tide Ministry's goal to improve the sustainability and strength of our strategies and structures for the discipleship of new believers, visit thetide.org. That's thetide.org.
In churches, and a lot of churches today, the issue of identity is sort of like the big elephant in the room. It's in the news, but it's not in the church. So if it's in society, it needs to be something the churches are addressing.
In His Image, delighting in God's plan for gender and sexuality, is now available for church screenings and events.
Every person in America needs to see this.
And all pastors need to show this to the church, get the people informed. If the church and Jesus isn't the answer, where's the world going?
We want the message of the film to touch as many hearts and lives as possible, and we'd love to join with you to bring the film to your community. So let's say you have a small group or your church, or we've even been bringing the film into some prisons. We want to partner with you. So what we'll do is we'll send you a special kit, and it's completely free, and it'll just have some extra resources to help you promote your event.
To find out more about how to host an event, go to inhisimage.movie and click on the Host an Event tab. That's inhisimage.movie.
A Moment of Truth with Gary Bryden of the Association of Independent Methodists.
A gardener came across a briar growing in a ditch. He carefully and tenderly dug around the briar and carefully lifted it out of the earth. Why would a gardener want a worthless briar? The gardener took the briar home and carefully cut a slit and budded it with a rose. As time passed and summer came, beautiful roses were blooming on that old briar. The gardener looked at the briar and said, "Your beauty is not due to that which came out, but to that which I put into you." That's what Christ does for the Christian. Psalm 140 verse 4 says, "He will beautify the meek with salvation."
The Association of Independent Methodists, like-minded congregations doing together what can't be done separately. Visit aim2020.com.
My flag and country, my home and life. Proud to stand and fight for the stars and stripes. Brave men and women chose to sacrifice so we can live in freedom and have our rights. You might not like my guns or my faith, but I'm an American son by God's grace. Tried and true, born and raised, and it's a million more like me across the state. This is
All right, welcome back to Aaron the Addisons. This program brought to you by the letter S for Samwit, helping us out with a little bit of education and show prep. Okay, welcome back. I'm Miki.
And I'm Will, whosoever south, only in America.
We love it. Sherry B and J Mac on tap to help us navigate the show. It's the Friday edition, so anything goes in the pot. Whatever you want to talk about, we've got Sherry B over in Studio CC. So I will begin opening the phone lines as I bring to a close this lesson to you on the history of the song Yankee Doodle. 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. You can comment on anything that we're talking about today, which so far is Yankee Doodle. So you can add to that, of course. Yes? Were you saying something?
Not just say Yankee Doodle.
Yankee Doodle. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. So before we went to the break, I was talking about the line of Yankee Doodle sticking a feather in his hat and calling it macaroni. So this is the silly part of the song that I just never had any point of reference for. And I again, was today years of age when I learned what it actually meant for Yankee Doodle to think that it was macaroni for him to stick a feather in his hat. Back now to songs.com. This lyric was meant to mock the fashion sense of Americans. This lyric was meant to mock the fashion sense of Americans, as a macaroni was a term for a well-dressed man. However, the line in the song Yankee Doodle implied that Americans thought they could just look good by sticking a feather in their hats. In 1770, a macaroni wig was an extreme fashion. Now, if you are trying to picture a macaroni wig, okay, that just think like British Parliament, think all of those timepieces, the movies that you watch where they've got the big wigs on and the two curls on the sides and like the ponytail. That's macaroni. That's high society fashion. And so this being sung against the Americans was, oh, you think you're macaroni because you put a feather in your hat. I would love to hear from someone who already knew this. I really would. I mean, and I'm not even, I hope that after today, you will listen to the song Yankee Doodle differently, that you will understand the deeper meaning.
The deeper meaning.
I'm sorry. No, anyway, here we go. In the 1770s, a macaroni wig was extreme fashion, and macaroni became a contemporary slang term for a fashionable English dandy. Now that's important, right? It became a fashionable English dandy, a term for fashionable English dandy. So when Doodle puts a feather in his cap and calls it macaroni, it's a slap at the ragged band of American troops.
Wow.
The lyrics of the song have changed over the years. Modern versions are best known for the opening verse. And again, here we go. Yankee Doodle went to town, riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. Now, the thing that's to me interesting about that is that a person's now listen, this is not exactly the same thing, but this is what came to my mind. Probably because I'm churchy for no reason. But I thought about the church at Antioch, how they were called Christians, and it was like pejorative. It was like, there go the Christians.
Yeah.
But the followers of Christ were like, yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
Like, you're not hurting us by identifying us as Christians. And so I feel like it's kind of almost that type of thing, but just from the American viewpoint. It's like Yankee Doodle, like kind of mocking the Americans. But as the Americans rise to victory, it's like, yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
We are Yankee Doodle. Okay, but you're probably wondering about the Yankee Doodle keep it up and hit the step. Then what's the next part? I have Yankee Doodle keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy.
Yeah.
Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. Okay, so here we go. Tradition has it that the words to at least one verse were originally written by British Army Surgeon Dr. Richard Shuckburgh, which is the person who is attributed or who it's attributed to in the book that Sam Witt and Nathaniel are using for their curriculum. It's written in September 1775. Let me get to the point about the dance, and then we'll go to the phone lines here. Oh, goodness. I wanted to find that part specifically because okay, here we go. One variation of the tune explains a man named Chris Roberts, who is the author of a book, Heavy Words Lightly Thrown. He says that the rhyme was used to help Yankees with their footwork. This is in an interview with NPR. It goes, Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. And this particular version was sung by predominantly British as a reminder to American friends that the dance steps in Europe and in America were different and that they needed to be on their P's and Q's regarding that. It was also a reminder to check your steps, make sure that your steps are right, and that you're holding the girl in the correct way. Which to me seems self-explanatory, which is before doing the research, I explained that to Sam Witt, but that wasn't enough for him. He was not buying it. Like, in fact, I had to phone a friend, internet, and then get answers for him that he would then kind of trust. And I think it was really just having a third confirmation, because it's what both of us said to him. But I think just putting in the extra work kind of confirmed to him that we weren't just making it up, which I don't know what you do with that. I don't know if you just kind of step back and go, man, I'm glad that he, in some ways is kind of like a Berean, you know what I mean? Kind of wants to search out and to know if what they're saying is true. It's not the same thing, but it makes me feel better. All right, let's go to the phone lines. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. It's the Friday edition of Aaron the Addisons. Will the Great, where do we go?
All right, let's go to Todd in Texas. Hi, Todd.
Hey, man, y'all, I love you guys. I love your ministry. I just want to know that bumper music you played before. I love it.
Okay, yeah, that's a song called Only in America by a group called Whosoever South.
There you go. Okay, I'm fixing to pull them up. I love I didn't know about I knew about the macaroni in the air. I was taught that in elementary, but I'm old, so you know.
Now, you see, that's interesting because while I was taught the songs and I was taught the Pledge of Allegiance, I wasn't taught the reason behind that. So I didn't know about the macaroni or the feather in the hat and called it mac. I didn't know the reason behind that. So that's good. That means, and you don't have to rub it in, Todd. You had a better education than I did. That's fine. I mean, that's fine. We're really not competing here. Anyway, but go ahead and look up Whosoever South. You're going to enjoy that. That entire album, I think, is good. Didn't we listen to it on one of our road trips?
We did. They have a couple albums, but and they're both good. So
yeah. Whosoever South is the name of the group.
Yes.
Okay. Where do we go next, Will the Great?
All right, let's go to James in Oklahoma. Hi, James.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
You're kind of breaking up, James. You're breaking up. Let's try it again. Go ahead, James.
Okay. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, the connection is bad. Can you call back? I don't know what's going on, but you're breaking up. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and it's probably he may be riding through like kind of the Yankee Doodle area where it's they haven't yet gotten their 5G. I'm sorry, James. Can we go back to the phone lines? 888-589-8840. It's just a joke, James. Just joking. Okay, here we go.
All right, let's go to Jill with her son, James. Hi, Jill.
Hi.
Hi, James.
You said that a historian might need to know the answer, so I called my resident historian here over, and he told me the answer before y'all came back from the break.
No way. Okay, I want to hear it. Let me hear it.
I think it was a fancy hat that they used to wear when they stuck the feather in it, and the fancy style of clothes.
You're right.
Told me that the song was making fun of the Americans.
Yeah,
yes, that's exactly right.
How old are you, James?
How old are you? I'm 9 years old.
All right.
Oh, 9-year-old James.
Go.
Okay, so James, I want you. I don't yet know what I have that might be of interest to you. But if you could, 9-year-old James, if you could just hold on the line. We're going to send you back over to Sherry B. And Sherry B is going to talk to your mom, and she's going to get your mailing address, and we're going to send you something that you're going to love. I don't know what it is, but it's something you don't have now, hopefully. And
he had the answer.
You had the answer.
So he might have.
So we just want to say thank you so much, not only for listening, but being smarter than we are. So anyway, if you could just stay on the line, James, along with his mom, Jill, we're going to get you something out in the mail, but we need your mailing address, and we'll let your mom take care of that. All right. Where do we go next, Will the Great?
All right, let's go to Ann in Virginia. Hi, Ann.
Hi. I have a question, Yankee Doodle. I kind of knew what you talked about already, but we also had another verse, and I was wondering who Captain Goody was, because it went, Father and I went down to camp along with Colonel Goody or Captain Goody. The soldiers were lined up in a mess as thick as hasty pudding.
Yeah, I heard that verse.
I have heard that verse. I don't have information on that verse though. And so because of that, I'm not sending you anything, because you just put me on the spot here. I don't know Goody or his pudding. And so I'm going to have to look that up. I don't know. Unless.
And I'm not 9 years old either, am I?
Look, unless someone else is listening, like a James, okay? We need someone like a James is listening and can call in and tell us about Captain Goody and the pudding. Then we're not going to know until maybe Monday, Lord willing, or maybe we just, hit it on another Friday. I don't know. But that is a good question. Now that you say that, I do remember that verse. So I'll have to look that up and get back to you. Man, it's just so hard to escape Sam Witt. I appreciate you listening. 888-589-8840. It's the Friday edition, a little bit of a lighter show we do. We try, at least. And we take more of your calls. Will the Great, where do we go?
Yes, let's go to Lou in Ohio. Hi, Lou.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you for saying hello. Yeah, I learned that when I was in elementary school. I'm like James. I'm old. I learned all about. I knew that it was a derogatory term. I had a great fifth grade teacher who loved the history of the American Revolution, and she would read all kinds of books. Like she read Johnny Tremaine to us while during our lunch break, and she just loved history, and she was a fun teacher.
Oh, that's
awesome. That. And so for Halloween that year, I dressed up as a America militiaman, a Minuteman for Halloween.
Did you really?
I had a tricorner hat, and the breeches, and everything. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You know, I'm thinking as you're saying
Thank you,
Lou,
Lou.
I'm thinking of how important it is to have teachers who are truly, genuinely excited about the information that they're teaching. You know, because you think about it,
That's
and you
true.
think about all of the years down the line that you go, and you can go back to your teachers. And you can think about the things that they taught you that stand out to you even today. And not only that, you know, and I was thinking this is so important, and I try to keep this in mind, excuse me, even as I'm teaching our children, that sometimes the words we say and the way that we encourage our children will stick with them. You know how as they're learning and they're trying to get things right, it's like, man, sometimes if you remember, you had a teacher who told you could do something that until your teacher said it, you didn't even realize that you could do
I
that.
have someone in mind.
Do you really?
Yeah, my English teacher in high school, she told me that she thought I could write. And so I began to do creative writing. And I started writing poetry. And I found out, because I was very quiet, but it was like an outlet for me, writing. But she helped develop that.
Yeah, man, it's just fantastic. I remember in middle school, you know, when you were starting to do make presentations and give speeches and things like that. I remember in middle school having a teacher say, "Did you write that?" And I remember being like, "Yeah, I wrote that," you know, and did you practice it? And I remember thinking, yes, that was the assignment. Like, that's what you told us to do.
Right.
But I didn't realize just how much she was commending what I had done. And she said, that's really good. You're a good communicator. You are a good communicator. And
look
those
at you
things
now.
stick in your mind, right? Like those, you go, I'm a good communicator. I'm a good communicator. So it's important even now how we talk to our children and the kinds of things that we share with them and the ways that we encourage them. And even when they don't do something well, there is a way to correct them while not like kind of, you know, dampening their attempts.
You know, it's amazing to hear you say that about the teacher saying that you're a good communicator, and then look at the sovereignty and, you know, of God.
Yeah.
You know, having a relationship with him, it's an anointed communicator.
Yeah,
you know?
I believe so.
You know
I
what I'm
believe
saying?
so.
Like,
yeah.
God had a way of having her there to encourage you. He was going to use you for his work. So
yeah, man,
anyway,
glory to God. Glory to
praise
God. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. 888-589-8840. Will the Great, where do we go?
All right, let's go to Milton in Iowa. Hi, Milton.
Hey, hello, guys.
Hello.
Hey, so I tuned in kind of late. So I don't know exactly what the challenge was, but it's a bit of trivia because you mentioned when you were explaining about the verse in Yankee Doodle where you know, mind the music and the steps, and you were saying how that was sort of in regard to the different dance steps or whatever. But anyway, you said to kind of mind their P's and Q's, and I was curious if you knew what minding your P's and Q's.
Oh, man. Oh, Milton, that is a great
I've
question.
heard it before,
okay.
So
okay, in all honesty, I feel like I have looked this up before. I
think you
feel
have.
like
I
I
think we
know
talked
this.
about
Oh
it
my goodness.
at
But now
home.
my mind is drawing a blank. Now this is unfair what I'm about to do. But I did sustain a head injury recently here.
Stop.
True story. And although it's not what's causing this right now. This right now is just, I don't remember 6 kids, 42. I don't know. But can you stay on the line, Milton? Because I don't remember. And I would like for you to give us the history of P's and Q's. Tell us where that comes from.
I don't have the history. I just have what I think is the answer. So I don't have anything, you know, profound. So
okay,
that would be a letdown. That'd be a letdown to come back to me and just say, well, it's this.
Okay.
Okay, but still we're out of time. So it's up to you. If you hang around, we'll come back to you. Aaron the Addisons, stay close.
The Lord's Prayer isn't some weight set where we can do so many repetitions each week to gain spiritual fitness.
Each element of the prayer model Jesus gave us has purpose.
We are praying for God not to test us, but if we are tested, then we are praying He would be our shield, our protector. Even Jesus faced tests, so for us to not expect them is to ignore reality.
Read Dr. Robert Youngblood's blog, Spiritual Fitness, the Lord's Prayer, at afa.net/The Stand. What does the American Family Association stand for?
AFA upholds the truth that all human beings, including the unborn, are created in the image of God and are worthy of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
These values and more are part of our mission to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. We want to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. Thank you for standing with us.
This is Raising Godly Boys with Mark Hancock.
Have you ever noticed that boys love to run? They seem to be constantly dashing, darting, and scurrying around. And when they get older, they run even faster, which makes keeping up with them even more work. Parenting is exhausting. In addition to school and church, there are a whole bunch of other activities that take time and energy. In the busyness of everyday life, it's natural to feel tired and overwhelmed. But don't let these emotions drag you down. Instead, take heart. 1 Chronicles 16:11 says, "Seek the Lord in His strength. Seek His face forevermore." What a great reminder that our help comes from the Lord. For more encouragement and practical advice on how to raise your son, visit Trail Life USA or RaisingGodlyBoys.com.
Free help in raising godly boys is at RaisingGodlyBoys.com. RaisingGodlyBoys.com.
When an abortion-minded woman walks into a preborn pregnancy center, she encounters love and compassion and gets to meet her baby by ultrasound.
And I was like, I'm gonna go to the abortion clinic. And I already had my mind made up.
This mom didn't make it to the abortion clinic. Instead, God led her to a preborn center.
And the lady is giving me my ultrasound. She's like making these weird faces, and then she's like, it's 2. And I'm like, I just start crying. I started texting my friends, and like, I can't.
The ministry of Preborn was able to help this mom save not just 1 life, but 2 through ultrasounds. Preborn centers help save babies' lives and souls. Preborn runs and leads Christian pregnancy centers all over the country. To find out more, go to preborn.com. That's preborn.com, or dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 and say baby. Your love can save a life.
Yeah, knocked me down, but I got up again. Yeah, I'm standing strong and I can face the wind. Made it through the night, now it's a brand new day. And it was only by His grace. Now I can say, I made it. I made it.
All right, well, we made it back from the break, and Milton is still holding with his profound recitation of the history of P's and Q's. Wherefore does it come? Actually, that's not the proper use of wherefore, because it actually meant why. Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? It means why are you called Romeo? It doesn't mean where have you come from. Now, that I did learn in my public high school. So shout out to my English teachers. Okay. But Milton, you're holding, I was just putting some unnecessary pressure on you. You were going to tell us about P's and Q's, though.
Well, I was hoping maybe that, in the break you phoned a friend again and come up with a profound answer. It kind of sounded like you were wanting the bell to ring in class, and we got to go to a break because I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I was trying to run down the clock, Milton.
Pretty much.
It's like, I got the ball. I'm just going to hold it here for a second.
So this is not profound, and it might not even be entirely correct, but this is what I was told a long time ago, and it's a family show, so I'm gonna answer this carefully. But it was a celebration caution. If those were going out to celebrate, it was a caution against minding pints and quarts.
Yes. I'm so glad for how you said that, Milton.
Thank you so much, Milton.
Because I was kind of conflicted here because during the break I did phone a friend, internet, and found a couple like possible suggestions for the origin of that caution, mind your P's and Q's. And then I thought, how do we tackle that without seemingly endorsing what it refers to? And you did it perfectly.
Thank you,
So
Milton.
thank you so much.
Great
Yes,
job.
it was a caution to mind your pints and quarts and to keep tally. I don't know why I had to do it in an Irish accent. I'm sorry to all of my Irish brothers and sisters who are listening and who felt like that was sort of a gross exaggeration of stereotype.
Well,
I'm sorry. You guys are important. All
Yes.
right. Will the Great, where do we go next?
All right, let's go to Shauna in Tennessee. Hi, Shauna.
Oh, yeah. So I did know the history of the song and have taught it for several years to kids in our homeschool co-op.
Awesome.
And along with teaching it to them, I always show them a certain picture. And if you could phone a friend and look up this picture right now, maybe you can describe what you see. Look up macaroni penguin.
Okay.
Macaroni penguin. Okay.
Macaroni penguin. And you'll see this penguin was named Macaroni for the same reason that the song mentioned macaroni. So if you look it up and you describe the macaroni penguin for the listeners,
Wow.
it might make some sense. But also in the line about Captain Gooding, I can't remember exactly who Captain Gooding is, but I know that when we studied that line, I always made hasty pudding for the kids.
No, okay. Shauna?
So they would know how thick it was. Yes.
Okay, so just a second here. It's not that I don't know, okay? It's all of the listeners who are listening, and those people don't know. But what is the pudding that you're like? I mean, just in case, not me, other people who don't know and they've never had it or made it or seen it. What exactly is it comprised of? Like, what's in it?
It is cornmeal cooked slowly in boiling water until it becomes very thick. So it's kind of like grits, but grits are made from like hominy. So like a corn that's had its hull removed. This is just regular cornmeal, and you cook it slowly in like salted boiling water, and then once it becomes thick, you can eat it either plain or you can put like maple syrup on it, which is what we did in class, or you can slice it later and kind of fry it like people do polenta.
Did the kids like it?
Most of the kids liked it with the syrup.
Okay.
But I mean, I do a lot of cooking and history classes and literature classes, and I find that they'll eat almost anything that they see you prepare in front of them and that they get to be a part of.
Yeah. And that you can tie to the lesson, that you can tie to something that will kind of put them in a time period or I agree with you. And I found that to be true. I'm just stuck on the boiled down cornmeal. Like, do you put any sausage in it? Anything like, shrimp? I don't know. Is there anything else in it? It's just the cornmeal kind of boiled down.
It was just a very inexpensive meal that they would be serving in colonial times, and probably something that the soldiers themselves would have been eating. But it does become very thick, and so to say that the men and boys at Captain Gooding's camp were as thick as hasty pudding meant that there were a lot of men and boys gathered there for the battle.
Very insightful. Okay, this is good. Okay. And way to go, Shauna, making me seem all extra and ungrateful. You're like, well, it was a very inexpensive meal during colonial times. It was and I'm like, got any sausage?
Your first world problems.
I know. I'm sorry. You're like, that's all we got is the hasty pudding, and then there's Miki. Y'all got any hot sauce? I mean, I'm just saying, is it just the pudding, or can we put something on top? Anyway, all right. Well, the Great, where do we go next?
All right, let's go to Charlie in Michigan. Hi, Charlie.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hey, thanks for taking call. Now I'm getting hungry.
For hasty pudding. Okay.
Oh, but that's a good idea. I think sausage would be great. So I have something that is lighthearted and then a little bit sombering in the end.
Okay.
Sure.
So the lighthearted is a very simple dad joke.
Okay.
At one time that I made a belt out of watches. It was a waste of time.
Okay.
Ba-dum-bum.
Oh!
Get it? He said it was a dad joke. I got it. All right.
Oh, Charlie. Oh, Lord bless him and
Our
keep
kids
him.
would actually like that.
They would love
joke.
that. And guess what? So thank you so much for giving us something to bring to dinner.
Oh,
So because
man.
that's definitely it's in. Okay, so now you've made us laugh. Now go ahead with the medicine.
So the thing that really concerned me is that I recently had a meeting with my primary care physician. She asked me, have I been vaccinated? No, for religious reasons, not interested, da-da-da-da. Pushing. Gotta have it, take it. No, I don't want it. And so she threw down a warning. She said, well, people who are vaccinated here in Michigan will get if they get COVID-19, they will have the priority of getting the monoclonal antibodies.
Wow.
I'm like, wait, what?
Wow.
So people who are not vaccinated will be put behind in the back of the queue or back of the line for any therapeutical because you're not vaccinated and it'd be a waste of medicine.
So Charlie, can you see how, and I think you can see, and this is why you're in fact bringing this up, but can you see why this is not meant to be a help to the American people? Because let's think about this logically. If you are unvaccinated and you are at great risk, wouldn't that push you to the front of the line for the antibodies? Because now your chances of dying or suffering adverse effects of the virus have been increased because you're unvaccinated versus being quote unquote vaccinated. Your chances of survival, remember the promise is, well, the first promise was that it's going to eradicate it. We know that's a lie. But then the promise is that your symptoms will not be as severe. So it almost seems counterintuitive to say to a person, go ahead.
There is a reason that she gave. I said, why are you doing this? Because, people who are like me, I have diabetes. You would think I would be put up near the top because of comorbidity issue and blah, blah, blah. And she said, well, it's because people who are vaccinated have a better reaction to the therapeutics than people who are not.
Okay.
Wait, what? That's not what I hear.
Right. Where is she getting this information? Okay.
Next doctor, please.
Wow.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, and that's the question and the request, and that's going to be the search. Next doctor, please. Can we find someone who is wanting to help and not just recite? Yeah. And that's the problem. That's where we are, man. I want to recommend this. I want to highly, highly, highly recommend this. One of our listeners drew our attention to this particular episode, and which I regularly listen to Understanding the Times with Jan Markell, but I hadn't listened to last Saturday's episode. So this will be part 2 tomorrow. But if you listen you can listen on American Family Radio. It airs tomorrow, Understanding the Times Radio with Jan Markell. And she's got a 2-part series that she's doing right now, kind of doing a deep dive into the COVID-19 sham delusion and all of that. And with well-researched factual information, guests joining her. And I listened to the first episode a couple days ago, so it's a few days past the original airing of it. But I just want to highly recommend that to you, Charlie, and I want to recommend that to all of our listeners. And someone wrote in and said, man, I think it'd be great for you guys to go into more detail on what Jan Markell talked about on her program. And I would say I appreciate that request, but I think Jan Markell did it best. And I think she's got a part 2 coming. And if there can be better than best, then let's just watch and see. But I think what I would do is re-air her show during my time, which would be ridiculous, but I cannot recommend it enough. And I want to highly recommend that all of our listeners, because not only is there factual information that is given, but there are resources that are provided that you yourself can go get to be well read, to know how to have a quote unquote COVID plan, which is really mind blowing to me. And so anyway, I want to highly recommend that. If you go to afr.net, you can find a link to the show. Also, you can get the podcast. I have Understanding the Times podcast. I follow them, and so I listen to that at my convenience. But I just want to 110% recommend you listen to that program, and part 2 will be this weekend. So if you're planning to listen this weekend, you might go ahead and catch up, get part 1, and then listen to part 2 this weekend. All right. Will the Great, where do we go next?
All right, let's go to Donna in Texas. Hi, Donna.
Hi, Will and Mickey. This
Hello.
is my first time calling. Hi, can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, go right ahead.
Okay, I said hi, Will and Mickey.
Hello.
This is my first time calling. How you doing? I want to speak on Yankee Doodle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't know the meaning of it. But when my last baby was born, his name is Damien, so I used to sit him on my lap and bounce him around and say, Damie Doodle went to London, and I sing the song to him. And now he's 46 years old, and I still got the nickname Doodle. I call him Doodle when I want to have a little, when I want to show love to him.
Wow.
I call him Doodle.
Wow.
Oh, that's sweet. Now, listen, Donna, this is your first time calling in. So I want to introduce myself. I'm Miki, and I'm married to Will, and I'm the joker in the family. Okay, so I do know the history. Now, if you stay on the line, I'll have Sherry B tell you, because I don't want to cause any mental distress to your son, but I actually know the history of the term doodle. And if I tell you, I don't know if you'll still call him Doodle. But I don't know.
When I try to be loving to him, I call him
It's
Doodle.
so loving. No, it is
Term of endearment.
It is yes. Let's stay with that. That's good, Donna, because in case your son listens to this program, I don't want to be like, Ma. But anyway, hey Donna, that's very sweet. David Doodle. She said, Damien.
This is Damien Doodle.
Damien Doodle. I like the alliteration. That's really good. I'm just going to, Donna, I'm going to just leave it like that because that's a sweet thing. And you said he's 46 years old?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to change it. We're going to just go ahead and she said.
I'll be listening to your program and I'll find out, when y'all continue on with it. But yeah, I just think that because it's the term of endearment.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's very sweet. It's very sweet. And I tell you what, I'm not going to do. And the reason I know about the word doodle is because obviously it's a part of the song, and it was in the history report that I was reading on songs.com, like where the word doodle came from. But I'm not going to share. Because Damien's mom is precious.
Yes.
All right. And so I don't, anyways. All right. So let's try to squeeze in one more call. Will the Great.
All right.
Because somebody's going to call in and say, do you know the history of great? Do you know what it actually, you call him Will the Great, but do you know what it means? Do you know what it comes from? It's not actually meaning great. It comes from the Greek, meaning doesn't. I don't know. Go ahead.
Let's go to Michael
sometimes it works.
in Kentucky. Hi, Michael.
Hi, this is Michael. I'm first-time caller. Love your program. Been a long time listening to this.
Thank you.
I had a trivia question related to the British culture. Do you know why they've had a history of such bad teeth?
Such bad teeth?
A history of such bad teeth. Teeth. Okay, like what you chew with.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. A history of bad teeth. Man, I would just say I would be guessing, Michael.
Reasons,
would
maybe?
you? I know I was going to go with the obvious reasons, but I feel like there's more to it than that. Go ahead, Michael. You tell me why.
Well, in British history, in royalty, the royalty were known to have really poor teeth. The more cavities and gingivitis and all the things that they had was desired by the middle and lower class people so that they would appear to be like royalty.
Wow.
Even to the point of making their teeth have gingivitis by scratching the gums and making them.
Okay, we gotta go.
Oh man, I'm sorry, Michael. We're out of time until Monday.
God bless.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family,